joining us ahead of the Warriors game against the Lakers. It's the four-time champ, Draymond Green. Thank you so much for stopping by NBA today.
I appreciate y'all having me.
It's always a good day, Draymond, when you are in studio, particularly when you are coming off a game like you all just did. Last outing, you have a triple-double. Steph Curry has 50 points here. In year 13 together, what do you guys say to each other on the floor after a game like that?
You know, honestly, you can tell when he's locked in and ready to go, and you don't need to say anything. And last night, he had the look in his eyes. He had the look in his eyes and shoot around, though. And so coming into that game, and if there's one person that doesn't forget anything, he remembers the last time we played at Memphis. And so we go on the shoot around yesterday, and Chris DeMarco calls our first unit in, and he's like, y'all remember what happened the last time we played at Memphis? I'm like, stop. Enough. Like, we don't need to hear about that.
Don't talk about the no field goals, right.
We'll move forward. We're not listening to that. And we had this moment, and Steph started yelling, yeah, me and Chris DeMarco going, and he starts yelling. So you just know when he's locked in. But I told him at the free throw line, when they fouled him, he had 50, and he went to the free throw. I said, man, oh, you already got 50. Well, go ahead and get 52. That's not bad for a 40-year-old.
That's not bad for a 40-year-old. That makes me worry about what you're going to say to the actual 40-year-old when you face off against LeBron James.
He got to hear it, too.
You said, Draymond, in February, that acquiring Jimmy Butler, this team was going to win a championship. So you saw 18-2 with Steph and Jimmy Butler in the lineup. You already were foreshadowing that?
I can't necessarily lie to you and say I saw 18-2, but what I saw was who Jimmy Butler is. We already know who Steph Curry is. We already know what he can do and how he can carry. But now you add a force like Jimmy, who's a force on both sides of the ball. He's a force on the defensive side of the ball, and he's an extreme force on the offensive side of the ball. And when you look at that, I took a step back, and I'm like, all right, so what are the challenges here? Because he wants to win. And I know we want to win. So this is a match made in heaven. You got a guy who want to win coming to a situation with some guys that want to win and are trying to figure it out.
Right.
It's not like it's the made team that people have looked at for the last 9 or 10 years. This is a team that's real and trying to figure it out, and we need that presence. And I just felt really strongly about what he can bring to this team. And we saw it for 2 games, but I'll tell you the story. In 2022, my friend Danny, they were all going to F1 Miami. And I was like, Danny, I'll see you in Miami. Like, I'll be there for F1. There's no chance we're getting out of the first round of the playoffs. He's like, all right. I called him after the very first game because if you remember that year, Klay came back, I got hurt. The game I came back, Steph got hurt.
Yeah.
And so we hadn't played together. Our first game playing together was the first playoff game. I called Danny after the game. I said, Danny, I'm not going to see y'all at F1. We're going to win the championship. And he was like, what are you talking about? You just told me y'all are going to lose. I said, I know what it looks like, Danny. And I just felt like this looked that way. So
you're getting those same sort of 2022 vibes. And you're not the only one in the organization who has said that this team feels like it has something special. And I imagine some of that, though, is Jimmy Butler coming in, having been on the finals stage and not having finished the mission, wanting to prove maybe something there. You've been to the finals and won many times. You've been to the finals and you haven't gotten the job done. What is it about this team that makes you believe that it'll be the former?
I think this team has the ability to match different lineups. When you look at all championship teams, they have abilities. If a team go big, they can match that. If a team goes small, they can match that. If they need three-point shooting lineup, they can do that, right? If they need an all-defensive lineup, they can go to that lineup. And I just think the versatility of this roster with adding Jimmy Butler and what it does against other matchups, it allows us to match up against anyone, and I like that. I think that's what you need to win the championship.
I believe you. Sitting here, I can feel your conviction, and then I look at your path. Just for the record, it could be, as it stands right now, Luka and LeBron, then the Oklahoma City Thunder, and then potentially the 3-time MVP. Those are the teams you could play.
Absolutely.
Who do you want to see?
Well, I think anytime we face LeBron, that's always cinematic. It's always an incredible challenge. So that's always fun. But honestly, all 3 of those teams are going to be tough. And if you're going to make it out this Western Conference, we can look at the standings. You look at pretty much 1 through 8 is right there. And I mean, not 1, they're a little ahead of everybody, but 2 through 8 is kind of right there. And so any path you go through is going to be tough. All the teams in the Western Conference are good. So it really doesn't matter to me. I think when we're healthy, I like our chances against anyone.
LeBron James. I'm going to tell you LeBron James. I mean, I'm talking about better. You know, he is 40. He is in the 22nd season. Even though his game doesn't provide that indication, you never know when Father Time hits you. It doesn't creep on you. It succumbs. I mean, it just shows up, bam, and hits you. LeBron James, obviously, I think this is the answer to that question. We look at Steph Curry, even though he's 37 himself, and time runs out, there's nothing in his game that tells you that either. But I just think with LeBron James, because he's older and because we're looking at a Laker team, we're thinking about Luka Doncic being the future, Brian. Obviously, he hasn't had a great season by any stretch of the imagination, but primarily because he's missed so many games. I think there will be a better version of Luka Doncic in the future, more so than it is this year. But we can't take for granted the years that LeBron James has left on his resume. And so because of that, that's why I think the answer, I mean, it is a hard question because I think we need them both. But if you want to sit up there and say whose deep playoff run would be better for the NBA, if LeBron made a deep playoff run at this stage in his career, considering the fact it's also in Tinseltown as well, I think those elements come into play, and that's why he would be the answer to this question.
Wendy.
Joe, as Stephen A. would say, let me be very, very clear. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are winning the West. I believe they are the best team. So before we discuss that, I want to get that very clear. All right. Who would it be more amazing to get their 5th championship? Steph or LeBron? Considering what that would mean and what that would mean for fans and what it would mean for the league, I think it's probably LeBron when it comes to what's best for the league. Having said that, as I have continued to watch, I think Steph's got the better chance. And I know it's easy to say that the morning after we see them go into LA and win. Stephen A., we cannot ignore that this Warriors team is 19-2 now with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry playing together.
After the guarantee from Draymond. After the guarantee from Draymond.
I got to tell you, I mean, like, look, the problem with Draymond is he says a lot of stuff, and some of it is just ridiculous. But I have to respect that he told Malika Andrews in an interview that ran yesterday on NBA Today, he said it reminded him of this moment in 2022 when all of a sudden he just looked around and said, this team can win. This team can win the whole thing, and he canceled his June plans. He'd already made plans in June of 22, and he canceled them. This team, as Steph said, was in 11th place. And here's something else I just want to point out. We forget it because we're seeing the Warriors every night. The Warriors were trying to trade for Kevin Durant. They had all their eggs in the Kevin Durant basket. They were trying all kinds of elaborate moves. They were going to spring it on him. And then when that happened, Durant was like, hold up. Then they pivoted to Jimmy Butler. And the truth is, they just had a better package to offer than the Suns. He didn't want Jimmy Butler, but Butler was plan B. So while we can praise Golden State for how this has worked out, just keep in mind, not even they could have foreseen exactly how this fell. But they're 19-2 with those guys playing together. With this starting lineup, and if you look at what Steve Kerr has had to do this year, if you go back and look at October and how he was playing and the way they were playing in January, the journey that he has been on as a coach to find this starting lineup has been as challenging as anything he's ever seen in his coaching career. But the lineup that they have now in April, which is their big three, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, and Steph Curry, with those two young wings, Brandon Podziemski and Moses Moody, Stephen A., they're 13-0. They're 13-0, and they went into the Lakers last night where they took a haymaker from LeBron, who had his best offensive game since that injury. They took a haymaker from Austin Reeves, who had a 20-point fourth quarter. They took a haymaker from Rui Hachimura, who is such a difference maker when he gets things going for the Lakers, and they survived it because this team has got something cooking. So I can look at you and say, I think the world over, where all the Laker fans are, to have Luka fall into their lap and to set this up, this would be better for the league. Well, but I can't tell you that I think that's the way it's going to go.
Neither am I. I agree with you. I echo those sentiments, no doubt about that. But let's call it like it is. There's a few weeks ago, we were talking this way about the Los Angeles Lakers. Do you know why, Wendy? It was because they were one of, if not the elite defense in the game over an 8-week stretch. We looked at the Los Angeles Lakers. We said, oh, damn, we didn't do, Luka's going to be who he can be offensively. LeBron is defined Father Time doing what he's doing. We've seen Austin Reeves elevate. We've seen contributions defensively from the Vanderbilt Vanderbilts of the world, the Dorian Finney-Smiths of the world, et cetera, et cetera. And we looked at the Lakers' defense and we said, damn, especially when they went into Denver and beat Denver and really beat them convincingly, we gave them props. But ever since then, if you look at the Lakers, right, particularly since LeBron James has returned to the lineup, they're over 7 games, they're 3-4 record. Their defensive rating, 27th. Fast break defense, 28th. Field goal percentage defense, 26th. Three-point percentage defense, 27th. We've looked at the Los Angeles Lakers defense and we said, where the hell have these guys gone? And that's what the real problem is here. Certainly Luka needs to play better. We understand that. But who believes that Luka is going to fold come playoff time?
No.
We know better because we've seen better from him and we know he has the capability to get to that place. The problem with them is that defensively, they don't seem to be nearly as good as they need to be. And we certainly can't say that about Golden State. And that's why what Wendy says is very profound.
I think we went overboard with the Lakers when we first saw this new look team with Luka. We were drooling over how well they were playing defensively when they were locking down like it was a playoff run.
Right.
When in reality, it was going against a lot of teams in the regular season. Now they've hit that bump and everyone's jumping ship. The truth is they're somewhere in the middle. But the better story for the NBA has got to be the Lakers. The ability to relive the worst trade in NBA history over and over and over again as we work our way through the playoffs. Somehow, not saying, I think the case being made that Golden State has the better chance to run deep, that's absolutely true.
Right.
But the story that the NBA would prefer, this right here, I mean, you're reliving the Luka trade.
Well, if you want to talk about preference, guys, here's what the NBA would really prefer. That the Los Angeles Lakers and Golden State not meet in the first round and that both Steph and LeBron advance past the first round.
Yeah, a huge moment for the Warriors. They were in position where they could really go either way. As well as they've played, there's no margin for error. They're playing the 6th game of a road trip, 14 days in, Greeny. They come into the Lakers. They have been 0-3 against the Lakers this year. They've been awesome on their home floor in crypto, and they deliver an absolute brilliant performance. Steph Curry, 37 points in 34 minutes. What else could you ask for him? And then Brandon Pajemski, who we look at that record with Curry and Butler, but when Brandon Pajemski has been in the starting lineup with Moses Moody and their other big three, these guys are 12-0. Pajemski outplayed Luka Doncic in LA last night. This was a game that in the fourth quarter, both teams were desperate to win, and it was the Warriors that made the bigger plays, and that gets them in great position and buys them some margin for error going into 2 more huge games this week, starting tonight at home against Denver.
Jay Will, what was the first thing you said to me in our call this morning about the best player on the floor last night?
That it was easily Steph Curry. And this is the best rivalry that we have right now in the NBA between the Golden State Warriors and the Lakers because of the history of LeBron James and Steph. Now, LeBron James did his thing down the stretch that is going to prove to something to be a challenge of Golden State to stop with his size and his physicality. But look, them not having a rim protector, the way Steph is able to space out the floor, the way they're able to utilize him in continuity, and like Wendy said, Pajemski making shots from the outside, carrying the load in the first quarter to keep them in the game. But Steph Curry continues to prove that he is playing at an outer world pace right now, and he's one of the reasons why people are going to choose him to end up in the Western Conference Finals.
Again, Steph with 34 last night, and you were talking to me this morning, Shams, about chemistry. This Golden State team looks like they feel like maybe know that they've got something.
Their camaraderie is at a level it had never been throughout the year, and it starts with hope, it starts with optimism, but it starts with little things, like going to soccer games together. It starts with going to dinners together, spending nights out till 3, 4 in the morning for Stephen Curry's birthday party with the big three, Draymond Green, Stephen Curry, and Jimmy Butler, spending that time together. There was trepidation going into acquiring Jimmy Butler. How would he mesh with Draymond Green? How would he mesh with Stephen Curry? He's a different type of player than they've had there, but he's completely bought in and he's completely been able to lead this team. He's made players around him better, and that's something Jimmy Butler has done over the course of his career. And what I saw last night as well is Jonathan Kuminga. The way he played, the numbers speak for themselves. He's closing games for them. That was really their last hurdle, is him. Draymond Green spoke to it after the game, like, we've challenged him. We want him to play in the dunker spot, slashing, cutting. That's really where they feel like he thrives in their offense.
He had 18 points and 9 rebounds last night.
Yeah, the supporting cast in Golden State. It's amazing how we spent so much time, and for obvious reasons, the Luka trade and what it meant for LeBron, rejuvenating his career and ability to win a championship. But what you're seeing in Golden State is exactly the same thing for Steph Curry and for the Warriors. Is it rejuvenates their ability to try to believe that they can win another championship. They have built a roster with great supporting cast, but now you've got another winner on that team. And what that's done for Draymond Green's attitude and personality and what you see on the floor, they are a much different team.
So the Golden State Warriors are in a very, very interesting situation. Now, when we look at the Golden State Warriors so far this season, we actually do see that they do actually rank 6th in the Western Conference as of making this video. But it is a very, very close race. And this is due to the fact that all these teams in the Western Conference have been playing absolutely fantastic. Now, when we look at the third spot in the Western Conference, we do have the Lakers. Warriors are 6, but they are only 2 games behind. So, as of making this video, they are currently 2 games behind, so anything can really happen. We could see Warriors, if they end up losing 1 or 2, we could see them end up in a play-in position, or if they win 1 or 2 games, we could see them even higher up in the ranking. So it's definitely a very crucial time for the Golden State Warriors to really lock in and to finalize and get these last couple of wins if they want an opportunity to actually, stay in the playoffs. Now, I do believe that staying out of the play-ins is probably the best thing that the Warriors can do so far this season, and they have been playing well, so it does show that they are capable of doing it, no doubt about it. Now, the Golden State Warriors was just coming off a actual 5-game win streak before losing to the Rockets. And on top of that, they did face off against some pretty tough teams, which they may see in the playoffs, whether that was Nuggets, Lakers, and Grizzlies. And looking at some of those games, starting off with the Nuggets, we saw them actually beat the Nuggets 118 and 104. So we saw them have a very, very good performance. But on top of that, we definitely saw Golden State Warriors play some high-level type basketball. We saw them as a team actually shoot 42% from the three-point line, which is great. They also shot 48.9% from the field, which wasn't too bad, due to the fact that when you look at Denver during this matchup, they did shoot 54%. However, Golden State Warriors have been pushing the pace quite a lot because they actually got up 88 shots while the Denver Nuggets only got up 74. So just getting up more shots has actually, helped them out drastically. And we saw Steph Curry in that matchup also get 36 points, 5 assists, and also 2 rebounds. So he played out of his mind. And Brandon Podziemski has also been playing absolutely fantastic because he had 26 points in this matchup, 6 assists, and 8 rebounds, while Jimmy Butler playing that supporting act, getting 19 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds as well. So the Golden State Warriors have definitely turned it on quite a bit. Now, when it comes to the way they play, they haven't just been relying on Steph and Curry, drastically, which we have seen, early on this season before making that Jimmy Butler trade. And although Steph Curry did have a fantastic shooting night, you definitely did see that they weren't forcing that many shots to give it to Steph Curry, and hopefully he makes it. He was getting open. Steph also had a very much a hot hand, so they played that to their favor, and he was able to get the job done during that Denver Nuggets matchup. Now, looking at another matchup where they could see each other in the playoffs is actually against the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, this was a crucial game for both of them, and it actually did help them solidify that 6th spot as of right now. But the Golden State Warriors did win 123 to 116. So they played absolutely fantastic, and you definitely saw it in the stat line as well. The Golden State Warriors shot 45% from the 3 as a team in this matchup, while the Lakers only shot 38%. And on top of that, we also did see that they did actually shoot 47.6% from the field, while the Lakers shot 45. So just that little bit extra actually helped them push them over the win. Now, they did only win by 7 points, but at the end of the day, a win is a win, and they were able to get it done. And we saw some great performances, especially from Jonathan Kuminga, who came off the bench and had 18 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists, which I thought was fantastic to see. Brandon Podziemski had an absolute show as well, 28 points, 6 assists, and 8 rebounds. And this is where we started to see Brandon Podziemski start playing like his old self. And then Steph also had 37, 6, and 3 in this matchup as well. So, the Golden State Warriors were definitely feeling it. Now, I know it may not show up in the stat line, but Draymond Green and Moses Moody played some amazing defense, and also Guy Santos, Quinton Post, and Kevon Looney coming off the bench as well were also an integral part to this team. Now, although their stats may not show it, you definitely saw it out there when it came to them really just playing the supporting cast to the players that had the hot hand, whether that was Curry, whether that was Podziemski or Jonathan Kuminga, and they were able to play it to their advantage. So for that reason, I think they did a fantastic job. They were able to get Luka Doncic to 19 points, which I thought was fantastic. And although other players like LeBron were still able to get 30, I think, restricting someone like Luka definitely shifted that game drastically, and it definitely did put them in a pretty tough position, which is why I think the Warriors were able to take them out with a win. So fantastic job from them. Now, when we look at the Golden State Warriors and another matchup that they could potentially see in the playoffs, and that was none other against the Memphis Grizzlies, because they actually won 134 and 125. So very, very good win. And when it comes to the way they played in this matchup, it was honestly fantastic. We saw them shoot 39% from the three, but also had 22 threes in this game. They also shot 42% from the field, which was fantastic. And although they did shoot less percentage-wise compared to the Memphis Grizzlies, Golden State Warriors were all about volume in this game, and it definitely did show, no doubt about it. So for that reason, we definitely do very much like, where the Golden State Warriors have been playing. Now, this is a game where Steph Curry went absolutely bananas and had 52 points, 10 rebounds, and 8 assists, while Jimmy Butler on the side also had 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. And with Draymond Green triple doubling it with 13 points, 12 assists, and 10 rebounds. So the big three really did show out in this game, and they definitely were able to get the job done. And I think that's honestly fantastic to see from them. The fact that the Golden State Warriors have been able to get the hot hand, I think, was fantastic. Now, they did most recently lose a game against Houston Rockets, which I think is definitely going to be an interesting matchup because we could definitely see them play each other in the playoffs. However, when it comes to the Houston Rockets, they are definitely a very, very good team. They did a great job defensively. And I think where the Golden State Warriors definitely struggled was due to the fact that, they weren't able to get to the line as much. And also on top of that, when it comes to their percentages, Houston Rockets did a great job at restricting, their field goal percentage drastically. When you look at that game, Golden State Warriors shot 41%, while Houston Rockets shot 49%. So very, very big difference there. And although they weren't able to get the win, I definitely don't see it being too much of an issue. These one game sort of wins and losses isn't really too much to really go off, due to the fact that when it comes to actually playoff time, is definitely going to be a very, very different, game. And when you look at the 5 games that they have actually played, so far this season, we've actually seen the Golden State Warriors win 3 out of the 5 matchups. So the Warriors were able to do or put on a great show this game. They weren't able to do it, but when it comes playoff time, I do believe that the Golden State Warriors will be ready.